And then I'll invite you to sit at the back of the hall and we'll have questions once we've heard all of the deputations. Thanks very much.
Okay. Good morning, Lord Provost, and good morning, councillors. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to give a deputation at this meeting. I'm Kat Jones, the Director of Action to Protect Rural Scotland, a small countryside charity based in Edinburgh, celebrating our centenary this year. We started looking into data centres back in October when we noticed applications for hyperscale data centres coming into planning authorities across the Central Belt, many in green belts, which is a particular priority area of work for us, and going against local development plans, as in the Giles situation, and also in agricultural and rural greenfield sites. With the vast amount of space they take up and the almost unbelievable amounts of energy they take, the Gyle data centre would have used the energy of 250,000 households. It quickly became clear it was vital that we intervened in this space, both because of the impacts on our climate targets and the countryside, and also because of the knock-on impacts of the massive amount of energy infrastructure that would be needed to support them. I'm here today to support the call for a moratorium on green data centres in Edinburgh until a definition for a green data centre exists. It's worth pointing out that the context for this is the hyperscale data centres, which are the major developments contained within the NPF4 National Development 12, Scotland's fibre network, rather than data centres on the scale of our existing data centre network, which supports our economic and societal life. It was clear at the Edinburgh Council planning meeting to decide on the hyperscale data centre at the Gyle that the lack of a definition of what a green data centre was proved to be a severe hindrance to decision-making. Planning officials seemed to be leaning very heavily on one sentence which came in answer to a written parliamentary question. This appears to be the only guidance that had come from the Scottish Government on the issue. One of the planning officials in the meeting, when questioned, said, quote, "The normal starting point when you're a planner, usually when you're at appeal or inquiry, is to go and look up the glossary of terms in the development plan. Unfortunately, there isn't, and all we really have is the most recent advice, which is saying to local authority planners, you need to consider each case on its individual merits, and here are some of the factors or criteria that you could take into account." It's clear that before further decisions are made, it's vital that there's a definition of what a green data centre actually is. In order for a development to meet the bar for being considered part of the National Development 12, it has to be considered both a major development and a green data centre. Due to the very serious environmental impacts of hyperscale data centres, especially related to their energy and water use, unless there is a meaningful, robust and scientifically coherent definition of what a green data centre is, then it is impossible for local authorities to safely assess these projects. APRS are pushing the Scottish Government to urgently produce a well-considered and rigorous definition with accompanying guidance for local authority planners and decision makers. Our view is that this definition would need to be properly consulted on because of the importance of getting this right due to the environmental impacts of data centres, as well as the impacts they have on grid, electricity prices, local countryside and communities, as well as our climate targets. We're also calling for them to be put on Schedule 1 of the EIA regulations. Our view is that the factor most critical is whether a data centre could ever be considered green is the scale of its energy use, as the climate impacts of the energy demand is something that gets much harder to mitigate as data centres get bigger and bigger due to the 24/7 nature of the electricity demand and the intermittent nature of renewables. These hyperscale data centres are between 10 and 100 times the capacity of Scotland's existing data centres, and the energy they require, the pollution that would come from their backup diesel generation, give challenge to make them green in any meaningful sense of the word. Solar panels, low flush toilets, LED light bulbs and heat network ready just won't cut the mustard in the face of a building that will use the same amount of energy as 250,000 homes, and some of them are 1 million homes, the size of them, just not the ones that are in Edinburgh. The 2 planned data centres in Edinburgh would require more than 1/10 of Scotland's peak energy demand just for these 2 buildings, while creating extremely low numbers of jobs, around 29 jobs estimated for the Edinburgh Park data centre. They are likely to be processing large language AI models, presumably for a US tech company, with any economic benefits flowing offshore, while the environmental and community impacts are felt by the citizens of Edinburgh. It is clear that before further decisions are made, it is vital there is a definition of what a green data centre actually is. I'd like to support this call for a moratorium.